Right. Please come to order. We're now in session of the May 6, 2014 special meeting of Glendale City Council. May we have roll call, please?
Council members Friedman, Najarian. Here. Quintero.
Here.
Weaver.
Here.
Mayor Sinanian.
Here. May we have the report, please?
The agenda for the May 6, 2014 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on Thursday, May 1st, 2014 on the bulletin board outside City Hall. Before you is the Director of Economic Development regarding formation of the Glendale Economic Development Corporation as a non-profit public benefit corporation. 1A is a resolution approving the formation of the non-profit public benefit corporation.
Yes, Mr. Ochoa.
Rather momentous occasion. In a post-redevelopment world, we are moving into the economic development business, which is largely one of facilitation and trying to find opportunities to leverage. And so in order to do that at a somewhat of an arm's length transaction basis, we are recommending that we establish the Economic Development Corporation. With that, I'll have Phil and Darlene get up to provide some background as to what this organization is, how it will work, and ultimately what the benefit will be.
Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, Glendale for many years has understood the importance of economic development and its role in building and maintaining Glendale's status as a premier and distinct location for residents and businesses alike. In the past, we have used redevelopment as an economic development tool to achieve these things. We've been very successful at attracting and retaining business, preserving property values, generating revenue for the general fund and other operations, building public infrastructure and facilities, and also funding recreational and cultural opportunities. But with the dissolution of redevelopment, we don't have that tool anymore. The importance of economic development doesn't go away, but we have to change. We have to change arrows in our quiver, as I might put. Dissolution, as painful it has been, has provided us an opportunity to now build a new structure, build a new organization using the policies of this council and the rules that this council builds for itself citywide. In March, the City Council took March 2012, the City Council took a very important step in adopting the Economic Development Ordinance, which provided the authority and the structure to go forward with an economic development effort. It was both a policy statement and a framework for moving forward. This is the next very exciting step. I'd like to ask Darlene Sanchez, Principal Economic Development Officer, to walk you through some of the background leading up to this point, the structure of the organization, and then the formation process, and then we'll be available for any questions. Darlene?
Good afternoon. To echo Mr. Ochoa and Mr. Lanzafame, redevelopment is gone. We are in the economic development business, and it's here to stay. This is the new normal. By way of background, over the last few years, you have taken major steps to reinforce that economic development and vitality in Glendale is a priority. In 2012, the council passed the ordinance, and just last summer, you authorized a motion to initiate the formation of what we're going to talk about today. And since then, you've directed staff to prepare these formation documents, and what we've done with the City Attorney's Office is looked at various structures of different local economic development agencies. Just to talk a little bit about a review of the structures, we looked at various structures that could be done, and what staff is proposing is a formation of a nonprofit public benefit 501c3 corporation. The proposed articles and bylaws are included as exhibits for your consideration, and what they do is they really reflect the mission of the corporation, which is to encourage economic growth and leverage the investment through fostering a business-friendly Glendale. It's further recommended that the board of directors for the corporation be comprised of the current council members. Because the corporation will be financed or is proposed to be financed through residual revenue from the redevelopment agency, and it has been identified in the budget as a special revenue account, due to the public nature of this funding, it is very important and appropriate that the council sits on as board of directors. current economic development staff would administer the daily operations of the corporation. So to look at some of the legal issues that we waded through, there was various issues. And as you look through, this slide showcases 4 different issues that we looked through. But this, I mean, it was just, there were many different things we waded through. And what we were looking at is, what are the benefits really of continuing this through the city as a current city department versus establishing this nonprofit corporation? And if you look, there's many of the same things that you can do with the city. You cannot, what it does not at all circumvent what the city laws on, what the city charter is. This includes adherence to the Brown Act, bidding, sole source rules, and prevailing wage law. Those are all things that we would continue to comply with. So the question is, then why do it? We found 3 main advantages of why this should be done. The first is Glendale's commitment to economic development. This showcases what we've been saying. This is an important priority for the city. By establishing the corporation, we're taking that next step from our ordinance and our strategic economic plan, and we're leveraging the public-private resources that could be available to us in a very progressive manner. Because the corporation board will be comprised of the city council, there is an opportunity to leverage this public-private resources, but with the added benefit of having a government transparency and a government-led entity. You have predictability there.
So let me stop you there.
Yeah.
I think that's very important, and as important it is, it seems to be pretty confusing. So are we talking about a sort of a psychological, moral stamp or an imprint that we're bringing to economic development of Glendale by saying, listen, this is so important to us that we're going to have a corporation deal with this? Is that the first point?
Yeah, I think it could be characterized that way. And right now, there is this movement to, right now, all the same cities are having the same discussions within themselves. How am I more competitive than my neighbor? This corporation is not something our neighbors are doing right now. This is also something, like I said, that's progressive. And so Glendale could be at the forefront of doing something like that. But you're right, it is sort of that mental picture of we're doing something different.
Okay.
One of the second main advantages that we saw was the availability of additional funding opportunities. We found that through the corporation, there is this ability to leverage independent funding sources. For example, there could be grants that are narrowly defined and only corporations can apply for versus cities. There's also some independent funding sources like new market tax credits or infrastructure financing districts. Again, those are just, it's another tool in our toolbox as we move towards a progressive economic development program. And the third advantage...
When we talk about those funds or grants that may only be available to corporations as opposed to cities, are we saying there could be such grants out there, or we're saying there are such grants out there?
A little bit of both, actually. If you recall the discussion, we were not able to realize the new market tax credits, but we spent a good deal of time and effort trying to get ourselves into shape to be competitive for those tax credits. If you recall, we had to set up a whole other apparatus to participate in that program. We just couldn't do it in the time allotted. By setting up the corporation proactively, when those opportunities come around, we will have a much more of a leg up than the folks around us that don't have a corporation to do that, to act as a separate legal entity from City of Glendale, Inc.
Okay.
And just to touch briefly on the third, it's flexibility. As an independent entity, you have, as with the corporation, the ability to act a little bit more quickly than a purely governmental agency. There is the ability to use this flexibility in the form of business incentives. For example, the corporation could be in a position to structure a tax share agreement that would be based on contingent obligation if the board of directors chose to do something like that. That is an option. If this is approved today, staff would pursue the legalization and official administration of the corporation. We would file the necessary paperwork with the state, and we would set up a meeting with the board of directors. And that concludes my report, and I, along with the city attorneys and staff, can answer any questions.
I have some questions. Okay. All right, so what's the additional expense associated with the insurance and liability coverage that would be necessary for this corporation?
I believe we did, sorry, specifically with the insurance and separate liability cost. Looked, and that would be, I'm sorry. No, I don't think we listed that one.
So there's some nominal fees to register. The insurance itself is probably $4,000 to $6,000 premium, and I'm basing that on a nonprofit that I just recently set up, and we had to get the same insurance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm asking. It's not in the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands. We're talking about some rational number, right?
But we would have a separate policy for the corporation.
For the corporation, perfect. Okay, and it's my understanding that there's really no additional expense or cost associated with staff running the corporation, right?
No, there's not. In fact, what you saw in the budget today was moving the economic development staff into a revenue fund as part of the budget, and staff would be paid out of there, and there's really no change. There's no additional compensation for any staff that would hold an officer position or the council as the board.
So in practical terms, this isn't going to really cost us anything additional, any additional expenses?
Not beyond that nominal fee that we talked
Right.
about.
Okay, that's all I have. Okay, we have no more questions. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second it. Comment, I do think it's a good idea with the loss of redevelopment. I think this fills a partial gap, partial void. And more than anything else, I think it's just going to make the city and its efforts, the staff, just give it more flexibility. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay, may we have roll call, please?
Council members: Friedman, Najarian,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Weaver,
Aye.
Mayor Sinanian.
Yes. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, now adjourned.